Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaaya. Aum Arunachala Siva. Jaya Shankara. Hara Shankara. Can women practice meditation or such worship during their monthly periods time? Is it okay for ladies to engage in the practice of Athma Vichara or meditation during their monthly periods? I'll first briefly explain how this practice of ladies taking rest during their monthly periods time came into being, and then I will explain how we should approach and adopt this at present times. In the ancient days, basically ladies were doing most of their work at home. Basically, this is how it has been enjoined. Ladies will be taking care of their homes, the kids, etc., and the men go out and engage in their work or whatever the external activities. So, in those days, in the ancient time, since the ancient times, there have been no kind of facilities which we are enjoying today, in terms of the electrical appliances or whatever things, the household activities for which we use multiple appliances, etc. So, in those days, all these activities have been done or has to be done with a person, without any external appliances for their help. So, what had happened was that normally during these days of the monthly period, women may have lesser energy or stamina to engage in these kind of activities. So, basically, our ancients have, devised this practice of ladies taking rest for these days so that they can physically avoid doing kind of activities which may cause them more strain, and at the same time they can probably spend more time in doing certain kind of japa or meditation practice from wherever they are in their houses. So it will actually a kind of period of time for them to re-energize their strength of meditation or to improve their vital energy by means of engaging in these spiritual practices, which does not involve much of physical activity for the ladies. So basically, this was the reason why ladies have been advised since the ancient times to take rest, relax, and then spend their energy and focus towards any kind of spiritual practices, be it japa or dhyana or reading of some holy books, scriptures, or just chanting the name of Bhagavan, like that. So this was the idea basically. Okay, so now how we should adopt this particular rule or the kind of opinion given in our shastras. Now, when we talk about visiting ancient temples, etc., basically ladies who are undergoing their monthly periods can avoid visiting such ancient temples which are built as per our Agama Sastras. The reason being, temples are the place wherein they conduct large number of yajnas or homam for the welfare of the entire world or humanity, where along with the supreme being or like Bhagavan, so many different devas or the divine beings, they have been consecrated in those temples. So there are set of rules and regulations how a temple's activities should be conducted, how people should be in terms of their body and mind conditions when they visit temples, and in case if such rules are being violated, what would result, and then like if such violations do happen, then what are the remedial measures. So all these things have been properly defined in our scriptures. So all these rules and regulations are very scientific. They are probably what we may call as a spiritual science, which is mostly cannot be understood by our modern scientists or whatever the kind of technology we may have as of now. It is, just to give an example, it is like to get rains. Probably most of us would be knowing like we have a practice wherein the pandits, like they perform some japam, like to get rains. So even for that, the pandits have to follow strict rules and regulations. Even during the days wherein they involve themselves in doing the japam, and even few days before also, they should avoid taking of salt in their, as part of their food. The food that they consume shouldn't contain salt at all. If they are going to take food which contains salt, and if they take part in doing the kind of the Varuna Yagam or the Varuna Japa, then mostly it will not work. And it had happened like that even sometimes, like once when some pandits, they organized a big yagam for, like to get rains. There are so many pandits have been called, and they have done everything. But even after 1 to 2 weeks of time after they completed, there never was any rain for that period of time. So those pandits, they felt very bad, and they went to Kanchi Mahaperiva, and they have asked him, like, this is what happened. Normally, by the time they finished 2 or 3 days of such Varuna Japa, it would start raining. So they were wondering, and when they told this to Kanchi Mahaperiva, then Kanchi Mahaperiva asked them back, have you followed the rule regarding intake of salt? He asked. So these people, they weren't aware. So he asked them to go and check with some senior, like a Vedic Pandit. So when they did check on that, basically they came to know that this particular rule has not been followed. Basically, they were not aware of this specific rule which has to be followed when they go for taking part in the kind of Varuna Japam. So after that only they got this particular, they realized their mistake, and then like next time once again they organized a Varuna Japa in that particular place, and then they follow all these rules. And then after, when they did the Japam for 2 or 3 days, it started raining like anything. So now if we ask, who is that it is mentioned and how it is going to impact, we will not really know. So there have been rules and regulations. This is how it happens. So we have to follow these rules in body and mind as applicable in terms of whatever the places, whatever the situation, it is going to be applied. So this is something we need to keep in mind in terms of the various rules and regulations which are defined as part of our scriptures for doing various activities which are pertaining to the welfare of the world. In the same way, Now, this is one of the rules wherein like people, the ladies who are in their periods times, they shall avoid visiting such ancient temples. Fine. Now, at the same time, ladies can very well engage in the practice of Athma Vichara or meditation or the chanting of the hymns or the japa of Bhagavan, being at their homes without any problem. This is fully agreed, and like no shastras is against this particular thing. So this is for all of us, for all the ladies to understand that we can very well engage in the practice of Atma Vichara or reading about Bhagavan, thinking about Bhagavan's form, or reflecting the words of Bhagavan, the teachings of Bhagavan. We can do all these things without any problem. So in case if someone is going to tell that no, we should not engage in all these things, then we can very well ignore such advice, because the reason being, it is only the physical body that differs between a man and a woman. So the Atman is without any sex. When we engage in the practice of Atma Vichara, basically it is the practice wherein we remain as the Atman. So when we are kind of removing the layers of body and mind and then abiding as the Atman, then there is no question of one getting any kind of impurity by doing this practice of Atma Vichara while being in their monthly period times. Because the cleansing of the mind, the cleaning of the mind by removing all the unwanted thoughts itself is a sign of the fact that the mind is pure. This is what is called purity. Purity of mind is the true purity. Purity of the body is surely good, but the first priority is always the purity of mind. And of course, we are always going to take care of the purity of body as well. But just because we are in our monthly periods times, it does not mean we are impure. It is mainly for the sake of giving rest to the body and kind of re-energize oneself. Such rest has been recommended since the ancient times. Of course, we shall avoid visiting of the temples and all in those periods. But as far as the practice of the Atma Vichara is concerned, or about the practice of the japa, chanting of the hymns, or like thinking about Bhagavan or reflecting of the teachings, all these things are very much necessary, in fact, so that we don't lose touch with the Atman within. So I hope this is very clear to all the ladies. So let us deeply understand this particular truth, and we shall henceforth need not have any kind of doubts regarding the practice of the Atma Vichara or meditation. I mean, when I say meditation, I basically mean the practice of Atma Vichara, because this is what is called as the true meditation in our path. Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi himself has told many people that one shall always practice Atma Vichara even when they are undergoing monthly periods times. So this in no way cause any problem. I mean, it is not that one would be going against Shastras by doing this, because this is something one has to do all the time. Remaining as Atman all the time, or doing certain practices whereby one shall remain as Atman all the time, is what is the goal of life. So this is what we should understand. And let us always remember, Atman is beyond body. There is no difference in the Atman of men or women. So there is only Atman, and we shall remain as Atman forever. And let us not worry about whether one can practice Athma Vichara during these monthly periods times. So I hope this clears any doubt regarding if ladies shall practice Athma Vichara or meditation during these monthly periods times. So whatever one is doing in their home, the practices Athma Vichara, meditation, japa, dhyana, reflection, reflecting on the teachings of Bhagavan, or even doing their puja. So all these things which they are doing as part of their daily worship in their homes, one shall continue to do even in those monthly periods times. If in case someone feels that it will not be good for them to do puja in their puja room, then probably they can desist for these days from doing that. It is basically up to their, feeling, what they feel about it. But otherwise, as for the practice of Athma Vichara, reading about Bhagavan, thinking about Bhagavan, reflecting on the teachings of Bhagavan, basically there is no bar and there is no kind of problem. If one can do these things or not, it has to be very clear. All ladies can engage in these practices being in their home. In fact, it is very essential to practice Athma Vichara all the time. So let us not waste time by avoiding doing Athma Vichara in these days. So hope this is clear. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaaya.